Hey, it's Brad over at East Coast Gamers reporting on Championship win. We got there with an Emerald Steel list. This is Zan Cyan's list. First thing to start out, we have our 1-drops with the... Oh, we're going to go backwards. Yeah. So we're going to start out with our 1-drops. Of course, we're running 4 Diablo 1-drops, as well as the shift target. So we're going to have the 4 shift Diablos. To supplement our 1-drops, we are going to have just 3 cursed merfolk, so we have 7 total 1-drops. Merfolk are very good on the play, not so great on the draw. We have the Ursulas to back up our Diablo. We can get information when 1-drop Diablo, get Ursula to know if we need to take a song. Also in our mirror match, it'll help us determine if we're safe to shift or we need to shift earlier.
How did 3 Ursulas do for the tournament?
So actually 3 Ursulas worked out pretty good. I didn't always need to have them because of what we were seeing in our meta here. So we had a lot of steel purple where they weren't really keeping too many songs. Realistically, I only really cared about this if I knew it was going to kill the Diablo and I had the play to play it out already. So if they had friends or something, I really didn't care because it didn't matter. In most scenarios, this was actually good. I would keep this in almost every hand because, again, it is an inkable card. But it works good, and then against red purple later on, you can always have it. It's a decent top deck if you're trying to get a prep out of hand.
Yeah.
For a bit of the game, you might stall out. So
usually, people when they see green, they tend to like ink their songs. So.
Yes, yeah, the same thing. You'll see people panic and they'll try to dump it. It's same thing. Sometimes you may shift the Diablo on turn 1 just to get your song out of your hand if you're playing against somebody else's on green, just so that they can't steal your songs and it's just an early shift. But you can always get the information with Diablo ahead of time to know that they're not instantly going to kill it. Even if you can keep it alive for 2 turns to draw 2 cards, it's usually worth it. We're running the docks for discard. This is just hand refill. This helps if you kind of stall out and you end up getting either like discarded back, or if you're in a matchup where you're not seeing Diablo, the deck still does function without it. So we're gonna go ahead and, still force the discards on our opponent if we don't have a Prince John or anything to refill. Doc will be there to always help refill the hand. Can be kind of a brick early on if you have 2 of them in your hand, which most people always end up.
Always happens.
You always see both too. Calhouns are partially our defensive option. These are fairly good on the draw. They're very good on the play. Right now, we're seeing a lot of people playing locations. This is going to help you crack through locations, or in the mirror, you're going to hit through the coves.
Yeah.
It is fairly tough with this deck if you hit somebody with big locations to actually clear them.
Yeah.
The other thing with this, even if you crack to kill something on most decks, Fox does die in the trade to this, which is a big help. A Smee is the same exact concept, it just quests for 2. So Smee for most of the time, it's going to be for locations, or it's just questing to ramp, and you don't really have any way in this to dodge the damage other than there is a song in here later on, which we'll see, that does help with that. We are playing 4 Ursula's singers. We'll get to the songs in this, but we're playing 16 total songs in this deck, so Ursula is absolutely a beast. To go along with that, we have the Muses. This will mostly stall out your aggro decks. It'll also, if your opponent starts to tank on their hands and they're hitting their 1-drops, it'll give you could double sing songs, you can kill 1, bounce 1, make them discard a card. There's a lot of things you can go with. To follow our discard, we have the Prince Johns. Prince John will definitely help you refill your hand in a lot of scenarios.
The guy everybody loves, right?
Yeah, it's him and Bucky were our guys, but we lost Bucky, but we get to keep the Prince. Pete is another card. It is slightly questionable, but as you dump your opponent's hands, if you need them to keep cards in their hand, one of the good things with Pete is it will stop a prep on 7 if need be, if you need to protect your board. The other part of it too is that if you're mostly holding cards to discard your opponent's hand and you have John on board, or you have 2 Johns on board, if you lay a Pete in a top deck, any type of song, any song or action, really a lot of the decks are playing like at 12 plus at this point.
Yeah.
It'll brick, they'll be stuck with that card in their hand, they can't do anything with it, or they may have to ink it, in which case you're good either way, you're happy with either outcome of that. There is a 1-of in this deck. It is the Go-Go Tamago. This is something Zan did. This is actually decent if you run into like the Mufasa deck or anything where you're racing them, or if they're sending things in with 3 cost. It is also a target where this can kill Diablo, so it is your one evasive option to go ahead and crack back at an opponent's Diablo. You are running the Cove. Cove is a pretty necessary card in a lot of matchups. We only have it as 2 of because if we do end up in top deck mode, it is not something great to see. Also, in a lot of purple, there's a lot of steel purple lists out there. This does just straight up die to like a single crab on most characters or a fox. So if they turn 2 snake, snake gets it for 3, fox bounce snake, Cove's gone. and then your Diablo's in Brawl territory, and you have 2 cards in hand. For songs, the one major addition that they added to this is a card that wasn't really seen too much before, so this is a new card. We have the I'm Still Here. So this is a 3-cost song, so Ursula can double sing. This is going to give resist +2, and you draw a card. So really what this will do is even if you shift your Diablo and you know your opponent has like a Strength of Raging Fire, or they have a Let the Storm Rage On, you can shift your Diablo, discarding a Sudden Chill or any other songs, and you can actually sing this with Diablo to give him resist 2 and pretty much protect him for the turn, so you know you're going to guarantee to keep him alive for another turn. That'll give you a chance to actually hit another Ursula or make them discard a card or kind of question what they're doing, or if you find a cove, to put them on a cove. It's very good. It's not as good into red-purple because it does just still die to Brawl in that scenario, but with a lot of steel in the meta currently, this card is actually really good. Other side of this too is with Calhoun. If you have Calhoun on a cove, Calhoun then becomes a 4/3, and then this gives it resist 3, so it's a 4/3 resist 3, it kills something,
So
it gets
killable,
fucking
yeah.
gain 2 lore. They're gonna be stuck, they ain't gonna quest. For strength, we play a ton of small characters here. We're not doing any real big top end, so this is all small end. So strength is very important, and it gives us wave character ward. We can kind of sit back and just chill. And then if we have an Ursula, strength will clear out a lot of different characters. To go along with strength, the best song is by far Let the Storm Rage On. We are for sure playing for Storm Rage On. For Uninkables here, this is where we start to get a little bit higher on Uninkables because of the Calhouns and the docks. But for Storm Rage On, any steel decks, pretty much a staple. You're not going to get rid of it. And then our discard side of things, we're going to have the 4 Sudden Chills. Same thing with Ursula. You can double sing it if you play Ursula on 3. You want to play John on 4. You could do a Diablo to check out what's in their hand, see if it's worth it to make them discard. But most of the time, if you're making them discard 2 and you're drawing 2, that is really good. Or if they have 2 cards left in hand and they have to pitch them and they're stuck at 4 ink, also going to be really good. And then from there, we have Hypnotize, not a song, so it can't be sung. So this does have to be hard cast. But if you do have a John on the field, you can still just hard cast this, and it will draw you 2 cards while your opponent discards 1. Also inkable, so if you get stuck, you can ink it. But the biggest thing here in having this, so we're going to have here a total of 16, 20 actions. You have plenty of fuel to be able to try to shift your Diablo on turn 1 or 2.
Yes, you don't want to miss that.
And so gives you pretty good freedom to mulligan. So if you need to, you really want to search for it. Hitting a Diablo on turn 1 or 2 and singing a song after is extremely powerful, especially if you're going to shift, sudden chill, play an Ursula. You know they have a song, so you can do the, well, technically you do the Ursula first, make them ditch a song, then shift and sudden chill them, and they're down a card. You know you're drawing a card immediately on their next turn, and if you have any other discard to back it up, if they get bricked on Inkables, you could just completely end somebody's game. The game ends pretty much on turn 2 sometimes.
Yes.
So, with the list, this was Anne's list. I did make some changes initially to it and tried it out. Didn't work out as good. The Tamago is questionable. I originally was going to have a 4th Ursula or 4th Smee, but I said screw it and we'll just try it as is. And it's an inkable card, so it's not hurting us any. In the weekend total, I don't think I played this once. It's got either inked every time or I just didn't see it. But I think my all-star for most of the matchups, because there's a lot of people on the Diggy Diggy Hole decks here, would be the Muses. A lot of scenarios you have to ink these early on, but if you have it later on and you're hitting a song with Ursula, it just completely shuts down the Diggy Diggy Hole decks. Your biggest thing there is going to be having these to clear the mines or just be able to crack back through. You do have pretty bad odds against Daisy, but beyond that, the matchups are pretty good, and you're perfectly comfortable playing on the draw with this because you're down a card already.
Do you remember your matches?
So I had Diggy Diggy Hole round 1. I lost game 1, won game 2, then lost game 3.
Oh, yeah.
It was very close. I unfortunately had no way of killing the mine. I kept drawing songs so I could stop their board, but they continued to gain lore off of the mine.
Yeah, the mine is just like a snowballing.
Yeah, I went to 18. The mine ticked them to 20 when I passed the turn. I had no way to kill mine. So that's an unfortunate thing of, you have Pete's Smee and Calhoun, so you have a total of 9 cards that will do damage other than having a bunch of things sitting on the cove. Round 2 I played a Mirror and Emerald Steel where they were playing the higher top end, so they were playing the Morph Strat with the Shift Tinks and different things like the Beast Shifts and all that. They did not see their... they had their Shift for Diablo, but they didn't have a song to back it up to sing with it. I was able to see that originally, so I was just slamming Diablo, and then I had the Storm to kill their Diablo, and they misplayed a little bit into it, but that was game 1. Game 2, pretty much same thing. I shifted Diablo. They didn't really do anything. They played a Merfolk turn 1, and I just stormed off with Diablo and a bunch of creatures, and then once Ursula hits a lot of times, if you have the songs for removal, it works out great. You're just going to win. Round 3, I had to play... I played Andres, actually. We played another mirror. It's playing the Clarabelle side of this. So he plays the Shift Clarabelle and the Shift Tank, which can kind of throw you for a little bit of a loop. Game 1, it was close. Game 2, he completely bricked while I stormed out, and he played a bunch of 1-drops. So his deck completely ruined him on that one. And then round 4, I actually had to play against a Mufasa deck, surprisingly. There was a Mufasa player that went 3-0. And so I got paired up at... he was 4-0. I got paired up at 3-1 to him. I did offer him the draw because at that point it didn't matter, but he decided he wanted to play. So we did play it out, and this actually just completely dismantles the Mufasa deck. I used to be a big Mufasa deck player myself, but once this became popular, there was like no way you just get completely wrecked. Diablo hits turn 2. If you don't have removal for it, or they put it on a Cove, you're just completely bricked, and there's nothing you do. And then in the top 8, I played against Diggity Hole again. I 2-0'd that deck. It was Joe. It wasn't nothing too crazy. He just didn't really see any songs, or the games he did see a song, he played the Cindy turn 1. I knew I just had to chill on the Diablo, and I couldn't do anything because he was holding a Storm and a Strength. I actually got him in the one game completely trapped, where I kept the Strength in his hand the entire game, and Muses kept him from keeping more than one character on the board.
Just like nothing.
And so he was able to play characters, but he had nothing to sing it with anyway. So if he played 2 characters, he didn't have enough to play that. And the next turn, we would just repeat this dance all over and over until I finally found an Ursula to rip the Strength out of his hand. And so 2-0'd the first top 8. Top 4 was green-purple. That was with George. Me and George came to an agreement, so we didn't actually play that matchup because we both had played it earlier. He played it just before, and he didn't want to play it again, so we came to an agreement on that. Finals, I had to play against steel-purple, which was Cristiano. That's one of my tougher matchups with this because they just have so many big bodies, and there is so much removal in their deck. As well as they're constantly digging. They have the shifts to sing, and so there's a lot of different things that kill Diablo. There's no real way of protecting it in that. Also with the stupid Elsa that taps it down.
That kind of
when that eventually hits at a point. I did get him on top deck both games. One game he did get very lucky, but I just edged him out more. He misplayed a bit game 1 where he could have just quested out and very likely would have won that game. And then he gave me the opportunity for me to quest out, and knowing he wouldn't be able to clear enough for me to win the next turn. The second game, he kind of got bricked. I Diablo'd the Shift on turn 2. I knew he didn't have removal in hand. I Ursula'd with Singing Sudden Chill twice. Ursula came. After that, I had to Hypnotize with John on the field, drew a bunch of cards. He was down to 1 card. It was a rabbit. He played a rabbit, and then I constantly just kept making him discard a card. He was stuck at 4 ring. And so game 2 didn't go as well, and that was my championship match. So I actually dropped 2 games in the entire tournament, and that was just to the Diggy Hole deck, and it happens. Sometimes they have the songs, sometimes they don't.
Well, congratulations. Do you have any shout-outs?
So Zan, appreciate the list. Beyond that, Walt Store Owner, great. Cristiano knocked me out of top 4 in a different tournament. So it was good to see him in the finals. Unfortunately, I had to take champion Matt from him this time.
Before that, will you make any after today? Will you make any changes to this list?
The only changes I actually considered in here is pretty much swapping out the Tamago. The other thing was I was contemplating either swapping out one of the I'm Still Here's or one Hypnotize, possibly just to run a 3rd Cove.
Okay.
I feel like Cove is very good in the mirror matchups, and depending on what our meta ends up being here, it's very good into red-purple, and that's kind of you kind of need it because you're not rip and brawl with the Ursulas.
With the Ursula, yeah, correct.
Yeah, and a lot of times I almost want to have a 4th Ursula, but I think depending on the body situation, I think I'm okay with the 3 Merfolk. 7/1 drops is okay. You don't always need to see it with this. It's good if you do, but not always.
All right, congratulations for your first place.
Thanks, Andre.
And thank you guys for watching. I hope to see you guys next video. Bye-bye.